Okay, so we've been talking about the first verse in the Guru Puja about relating to the spiritual mentor. So there's been some questions that have come in, and one person said, okay, do I have this right? First we make offerings, then spiritual requests to the teacher. Yet did I go about it incorrectly? I listened to teachings first and then made offerings, and then down the road I made spiritual requests for guidance and directions. No, you haven't done it wrong. Okay, in this verse, okay, because the verse is from the Guru Puja, so at the beginning part of the Guru Puja, you made offerings and you made requests, and so now you're making, you know, the request for the inspiration to realize the stages of the path. So this verse here, as it was described here, is part of this puja, where you've done offerings and requests before, and you're already have a teacher, and you know, and so on and so forth. That's already said. So in terms of somebody who doesn't have a spiritual teacher, then what you do first is you listen to teachings, okay, and you go around and you listen to teachings and you check if the teacher is teaching according to the general teachings of the Buddha, or if they're making up their own thing. You check their ethical conduct, you check, you know, if they do a serious Dharma practice, if they've studied the scriptures, if they have a good relationship with their own teacher and with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And, you know, you check what their motivation is, if they seem to be teaching out of compassion and kindness, or if they just want to have a lot of, you know, people trotting around after them as disciples. You know, so you spend some time checking out a teacher first before you form that kind of relationship. Yeah. So this person who asked the question is doing quite well and quite fine. And there's no rush to find a spiritual teacher. It really depends so much on your karma. In my case, I happened to go, you know, I went to a couple of teachings here and there, but I wasn't really looking for a teacher. I just was listening to different spiritual talks. But, you know, kind of none of it made so much sense, none of it really sparked me. But then at a certain point I went to, and that was just a few talks here and there. And then I went to some talks in a retreat given by Lama Yeshe Lama Zopa. And I just like, wow, this is interesting, this makes sense, I'm going to stay here and learn this. Okay? And so I stayed there and learned that. And I never went around and, you know, went to many different teachers. No, you know, many people have different karma, so some people meet their teacher quite soon. Some people, they take some while to go around and meet different teachers. Some people have what I call the 31 flavors mentality. They want to taste everything in the ice cream shop before selecting. That can, you know, at a certain point you get indigestion and you haven't really eaten a meal. So I don't think there's any necessity to go around and, you know, taste every, you know, go to every teacher and every tradition and every something. If you meet something that meets your needs, you know, stay with it. Somebody else here asked about, you know, do you request your somebody to be your teacher? And, you know, I never did that. I just kept showing up. And of course, you know, when you request to take refuge and precepts from somebody, then you're implying that you want them to be one of your teachers. If you request to take bodhisattva vows, you know, you're requesting them to be your bodhisattva teacher. If you're requesting tantric initiation, then that person becomes one of your tantric teachers. So when you take any kind of vows or ceremony with somebody like that, they become one of your teachers. But I never asked any of my teachers, I just kept showing up. And I think by the force of showing up, we both realized that they were my teachers and I was their student, okay? So I think sometimes that might be a little bit easier than, you know, sometimes people get a little bit uptight, like I have to go and formally request, but I'm not sure if I want that person to be my teacher, and I'm not sure what it means anyway. And so I think sometimes, you know, if you're not sure, you know, just leave that part about you know, and just the important thing is that you attend teachings and you put the teachings into practice. Yeah, and so I think that's the main thing about going back. The whole thing is to listen to teachings from somebody who's wise, who knows more than you do, and then put those teachings in practice. And if you do that, then naturally, you know, the feeling of trust comes for the teacher, and a feeling of the teacher's kindness, and you don't have to push anything or jump through, you know, loops. Hoops. Yeah, oops, for the hoops and the loops. Okay, you don't have to do all that, yeah, because you've listened to the teachings, you practice the teachings help you. That's all you need, isn't it? You know, then automatically some trust and gratitude and everything comes. If you listen to the teachings and all you're trying to do is pick faults, you're going to have problems, you know. If you think the teachings are good, but all you do when you look at the teacher is pick at their faults, well, you're going to have problems there too. So, you know, you just kind of have to see how to work with your mind in the whole thing. And then another person asked, you know, let me see. Okay, then another person said, well, what about if we're watching, we're listening to teachings and watching a teacher's videos online, but we've hardly ever seen the teacher. Maybe we've met them once before, maybe we haven't met them once before. You know, can we consider that person our teacher? Do we have to make a formal request? You know, what's the situation? You know, in the time of the Buddha, that didn't really happen. So this is kind of a new situation. So, you know, I think you can certainly listen to teachings and you know, you have a lot of audios, a lot of videos, and you can see how the teacher teaches, and a lot of it may really touch your heart and be quite moving for you. And again, like I said before, just take that, put that into practice. And then if you feel like you have a strong connection with this person, even though you haven't met them, or maybe you've just met them once or twice, then go to a retreat that they lead, or go to a course that they lead, you know. But then you might say, well, I can't do that. Well, okay, you know, then do what you can do. Okay, but I think that there's something special that happens when there's the personal connection, and there's something that happens when you practice together in a group, together with other people, everybody doing the same practice. I think that gives you a lot of energy. So if you can, you know, come to a retreat, come for a course, make that personal connection, and if you have to, you know, save up some money to do that, that's well worthwhile. We save up money to go on holidays all the time, don't we? Yeah, well, why not save up money to go meet a spiritual teacher? That's, in the long run, going to bring you much more happiness than going on a holiday. Yeah, and so I think, as I mentioned before, I had to go halfway around the world to meet my teachers. So, you know, I think there's something of when you have to put your energy into it, then it means a lot more to you. Okay. So I hope that answered the questions that people sent in. We'll get twice as many questions tomorrow. They seem to kind of multiply, but this is good, you know. If we talk about what people are really interested in, then that works. Okay.